Good morning. Welcome back to the Retirement Report. I'm Hank Parrott, your host. All right, we're talking about, again, women in wealth, women planning for retirement, some of the unique challenges. How much have you saved? This is one of those areas, and this applies to everyone, of course. It's one of the biggest questions I think people ask. How much do I need to have saved? How much money do I need to have saved to be able to retire? All right, so again, the average for most women are saying they need at least $250,000 in this. These are all studies I'm sharing with you and surveys that have been done. So they need at least $250,000, and yet most workers have saved less than $25,000. All right, this is one of the unique challenges we have with regard to the populace right now, as far as our country, is that we've got a big disconnect from how much people perceive they need and how much they actually have. And even though people say 62% in fact said they could reasonably save at least $25 more per week for retirement, people are not doing that. So increasing retirement savings, especially once you get over 50, you can put more money into your retirement accounts. Okay, so that means you can put an extra $1,000 in than you could in as far as a traditional IRA, or for even more importantly for 401ks and company plans, you can put now up to once you're up over age 50, you can put $25,000 up to $25,000 a year into that. In addition to that, any matching you might get from your employer can be added to that amount. So if you are finding you're a little nervous about, do you have enough money? This is one of those areas. Saving more is real important, and making sure you have enough. So doing the projections, get with it. So if you've got a good advisor that can help you do those projections and see, is that going to be enough money for me to live on? Is it going to be enough money considering that my expenses are going to go up with inflation? Is it going to be enough money considering I'm going to have to pay taxes on those retirement accounts when I start taking money out? Is it enough money when I consider how much my rate of return, or what's the needed rate of return on my money to accomplish my financial goals? Do you know the answers to those questions? And if you don't, please get with someone that does. This isn't about do it yourself. This is about getting with someone that does that type of planning, that can help you with those kind of things. If you don't have someone, give us a call. You can come into my office. The number is 615-376-5325. We'll do up a comprehensive financial plan. I'll help you answer all those questions and make sure that you're going to have the lifestyle that you desire, to be able to attain and maintain your standard of living, your quality of life, no matter how long you live. And again, one of the things we do, we have what's called a lifestyle expense worksheet, and we'll send that out to you. And this is to help you to basically quantify how much you need, what your monthly expenses are, just to maintain your current standard of living. And then just like we were talking about earlier, when you imagine what you want to do in retirement, how much additional money might you need for that? And we factor that in, of course, for you as well. So we'll provide you the tools, and we'll help you through the process so that you can develop a retirement plan, basically a comprehensive financial retirement plan to help you answer all these questions, make sure, in fact, that you're not just going to survive in retirement. It's not about getting by. When people go through and fill this lifestyle expense sheet out, one of the things that I stress is make sure, round up. Think if you're talking about how often you like to dine out, for instance, think about it now when you have more free time. Would you dine out more maybe? And if so, let's add that in. Let's put that in there. Let's think in terms of what thriving, enjoying, having the fun money, making the most of those retirement years, what that would look like, and let's try to put that plan together. So we first look at the needs, then we look at the discretionary spending that adds a lot of the fun, if you will, in retirement. All right, well, we also have to look at risks. So there are different types of retirement risks, one of them being market risk, of course. So you're investing in the stock market, and one of those areas when you're investing in the market, we know statistically about 1 in 4 years are going to be negative years. We know that we've had 2 bear markets, one from 2000, when we look back over the last 20 years, we've had 2 bear markets, one from 2000 through 2002 and one in 2008. It technically went from October of 07 to March of 09, that bear market. And in each of those, you lost 46% respectively and 55% reductions. In '08 alone, in just that 1 year, was a 38, almost 40% loss in as far as the market. And that's the S&P 500 index. That's how well it did. And as we've talked about many times, that outperforms 90% of mutual funds, meaning simply that most mutual funds and most investors didn't even do that well. In other words, they took even bigger losses through that period. Now we've had 10 years, longest bull market in history, and we're thinking, oh, we're going to have a bear at some point, right? We know that, cyclical nature of the market, and it's just part of being in the market. So we've had 10 years. Now, in that 10-year bull market, we've had a couple of flat years, and we had one negative year last year. In fact, 2018, it was down about 5.5%. But on average, what's considered a bear market would be a drop of 20% or more in market value. We haven't had that since the financial crisis ended back in, or at least as far as the market, back in March of '09 when the market started back up again. So when we're looking at market risk, what's your plan? We don't know when the next bear market's going to be. No one does. No one has a crystal ball for this, right? We just know that there's a cyclical nature to the market, and we have to plan accordingly. So when you're looking at the market and you're thinking how much money you need to, as far as your income in retirement, to maintain your standard of living, right? So you're not going to have to worry if the market drops, uh-oh, I can't spend as much, or uh-oh, I'm not going to be able to, do all the fun things that I've been doing, and maybe no fun things, right? Or maybe I'm going to have to go back to work, God forbid, or whatever it might be that, a market loss could stress. We need a plan for that. We say, okay, well, we can put in a strategy that's going to maintain your standard living by giving you the income you need no matter what's going on in the market. We do laddering strategies as an example, where we can take some money that we're going to have for the long-term investment, let's say of 5 to 10 years or more, and we can have that in a market portfolio that's going to help us stay ahead of inflation and taxes, while still having a ladder that would say, see, if you're planning for maintaining your income, that means you need to think in terms of chunks of time, if you will. So if you're investing in the market and you go through a downturn, it may be 5 to 7 years, or if we look at 2000 through 2009, even 10 years to recover from a bad bear market. All right, so that being the case, you would have to plan accordingly. Now, there's ways to invest where we see we can tighten that timeline down, where maybe a 3 to 5 year time limit. In other words, saying that I've got to plan for 3 to 5 years where I may want to leave my investments, ride out volatility. So I need a plan in here to cover my income for that 3 to 5 year period. And we have different strategies that we employ for that. So again, this is the type of thing we've talked about. And these strategies can be a laddering, meaning a less volatile, more conservative portfolio as part of our moderate and growth portfolios. We can also look at, we've talked about annuities. Annuities sometimes can come into play. Other safe money strategies, we can ladder out different fixed instruments, bonds and CDs and what have you, that can give us a little income, but at the same time they're safe, they're not going to be subject to the market risk part, and they can provide us the income we need during a volatile period in the market and during a bear market. So market risk is a big one, and it really needs to be addressed if you're going to be able to, again, maintain your standard of living no matter what's going on in the stock market. Tax risk is another. Are you planning for the tax that you're going to have to pay on those retirement monies when you start taking money out? And when you get to the age of required minimum distributions, do you have a plan in place to minimize taxes? Have you looked at Roth conversion strategies as a way maybe to reduce taxes over your lifetime? All of these are important in terms of your planning and overcoming these types of risk. The death of a spouse. Have you looked at that? If, God forbid, but one passed early, is the survivor still going to be okay and be able to maintain their standard of living? And if there's some risk there, one of the things I do with my clients, early on, and new clients coming in, is we'll look at that. We'll say, okay, if one was to predecease the other, all right, what would that look like? Let's say it happened in the next 5 years as an example, and we can run the numbers for you and show that loss of a Social Security income, loss of maybe pension income, what impact that would have on you with regard to your expenses and being able to maintain your standard of living. And if it looks like you would run out of money as a result of that, within a short few years or something, then we know that there's a need for insurance. And so we start talking about maybe we need a term life policy for a 5 or 10 year period, and we can say, okay, how much might you need to not run out of money? So let's say spouse dies in 5 years, how much am I going to be okay? If you're going to be okay, we move on. If, you're going to run out of money, well, what happens, how much money would I need not to run out of money if that happened? And then we'll plug in 250,000, 500,000, whatever it is, and we say, well, and whatever that number is that then causes you to be able to never worry about running out of money, that's the amount of insurance you need. Next, we say, well, what if the spouse lived for at least 10 years? Then would we be okay? Or 15 years? And that tells us whether we need a 5-year term policy or a 10-year term policy or whatever it might be. So don't always run into that, but that's one of the risks that we address as well. Inflation risk. Those expenses are going up. Do you have, are your investments going to keep pace with inflation and with taxes so that your income goes up as well? All right, cost of living, we know with Social Security that it's tied to CPI, and it doesn't always reflect the kind of costs that we have. So an example would be healthcare costs. When you've got a CPI that is not taking this into consideration necessarily, so you're talking about healthcare costs as an example, my group plan at work, right, that I provide my employees. One of the things when we're looking at that this year, it's coming up on renewal time, and I just get notification that yet again, we've got another increase. It's going to be like 22%. Now imagine, inflation's 2%, but my healthcare costs just went up 22%, right? 11 times that amount. Now, how do you plan for that when it comes to inflation and retirement? We do. We put a factor in for inflation, and we cover healthcare costs as one of the risks that we get into as well. So when you're talking about healthcare, how do you plan for that one? And again, longevity, the fact that we're living longer means that all of these risks are greater, and we have to plan for them. So again, if you don't have it, as I threw it out there, just give my office a call, and we will help you with this kind of planning, showing you how to overcome these risks, how to plan for them, how to make sure they're not going to, hurt you and cause you to have less in retirement and settle for less, and maybe, basically going back to work or whatever it might be, the things that we don't want, to make sure you never have to worry about running out of money, which is the biggest of all. So again, 615-376-5325. Tessa's standing by. She'll get your information, send you out a checklist of things to bring to your appointment with me, and we will help you with all those types of risks and help you develop a plan that's going to make sure you're able to attain and maintain your standard of living, quality of life, never have to worry about running out of money. All right, and when you come in to see me, I'll give you a free copy of my book, 7 Steps to Financial Freedom in Retirement. All right, we're going to have to take another break, but when we come back, I'm going to jump in about this longevity piece, adding to risk, and then again, sharing some more strategies with you as well on how you can overcome these. Planning is a big part of that, right? But there's more. Join me here. We'll be right back on the Retirement Report.